1 minute.
Do you have
30 seconds, we're going to bring up the house also. In 10 seconds, we're going to bring it away.
I'll start singing soon.
But you said 30 seconds before. Oh,
Like something gonna blast off or something.
it's making me nervous with all the...
I feel like we're making a movie.
10 seconds, your mic's so hot.
the heating pad feels better than an ice pad.
5 seconds.
Great. Good evening. This is the November 21st ZBA meeting, and this meeting is being recorded. So at this time, I'll just ask if anyone else is recording. And I don't see anyone out there recording, so I think we're all set. And before we open the meeting, we just want to welcome aboard, welcome back Dennis Natoli and new member Megan Roach. Welcome.
Thank you.
And so we have a 7 o'clock applicant, Allen Properties, requesting a special permit under section 7.6.1 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for increased signage on an existing sign, freestanding sign on property located at 68 Auburn Street. Good evening. Would you like to?
Want a motion to
Oh, I'm
open up
sorry.
the...
Thank you, Dennis. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good evening. Would you like to maybe step up and introduce yourself and maybe give us a little description of what you're trying to do?
Good evening. Thank you for listening to our application. My name is Richard Fuller, resident of Auburn. Family owns the property at 68 Auburn Street, across from the Auburn High School. Family's had a business there since 1955. We consolidated our repair business up to Route 20. There are still 2 businesses there that are owned or partially owned by the Fullers. In having new tenants come into the property, they needed identification. We only had 2 signs of very small signs, you can see from the pictorial that we presented, on Auburn Street, with the 2 new tenants, one being Pablo Silva, a subway operator, and the other is a driving school. They each have obtained temporary signs through the town, but we certainly don't want to leave those temporary signs there. They're not, professional signs. So we went to KG Sign and had them design what would be a permanent structure and sign for those 2 new businesses. In addition, I believe the application states that we're adding one on the facade too. If you see the height, if you look at the drawing of the signs, the sign is near the sidewalk. It doesn't go over the sidewalk. We feel that the signs should start at a height that allows for safety for the pedestrian, which would mean raising the sign from its present height of 4 feet. If that is acceptable, that's what we wish to do. The sign that's going on the fascia of the building would be between, looking at the building, it would be there's a sign on the right, another sign, another sign. They'll all be grouped in that one area. The picture that you have shows a sign way down to the left towards McDonald's. That's not pleasing to the eye, and I won't allow that. If we're granted the right to have the sign, I want them spaced neatly, which is a spot for that sign there now.
So right now, the sign would be 14 feet, the existing sign right there?
It's 12 feet now. If you raise 4 feet, it would be
Says 18,
more than 12. It would be 16 feet, I believe. It is 100 and... The total off the ground would be 190 inches.
Okay, because on the pamphlet...
Nick's probably got a calculator.
On the
I was gonna say, on the description that we've been given, from grade to the top of the sign, it's gonna be 18 feet.
Okay,
That's
okay,
what-
okay.
That's what the sign,
That's what it says. So are you looking for 16 or is the
Well,
18?
that
as
was
the
if you
sign?
just added those two. The 88 inches, as I look on this now, I become more familiar with it. The 88 inches, Dennis, is to allow for what I believe the bylaw says you need, according to the sign company, if you were going over a sidewalk. I think that's where the 88 came from. But in looking at the sidewalk and also looking at the setbacks that we have on our plan, the signs would not be going over the sidewalk. If you wanted to bring it down lower than that, I don't have a problem with it. We have always tried to have pleasing signs on our property. We don't want to have something there that looks different and be higher than anybody else. That's not our goal here. Our goal is to maintain the cleanness, appearance of the property. If you would allow us to not go that 88 inches, which I don't know, Nick, if that figure is in the code, but the sign guy thought it was.
it's a clear travel pathway. That's part of a building code regulation. It's not part of the sign.
It's not a zone,
bylaw.
right.
That's where we look at that, because obviously we don't want to have any obstructions in a pedestrian pathway. I'm familiar with this site from walking by there. I don't believe the current sign extends over into the sidewalk. If these signs are going in the same location and the same width, I don't believe that we're going to have an issue with the 88-inch clearance, since it's not going to be in the sidewalk path.
I think you're right, because I went out and looked at it, and the edge of the
Yeah.
sign goes right to the line of the sidewalk.
Yeah,
If you look at the picture, the small picture right here, you can see that it's in perspective. There is, his temporary subway sign is right here now. If you maintain this height and put another one below it, it would be way too low and people could hit it. Especially in the wintertime, if it's slippery and the thing is there, it's just not a good idea for safety. So, whatever you feel is pleasing and to the signage, would be more than happy to abide by.
Just through the chair. Dick, are you just planning to add two-foot sections on top of the sign that's currently there? Would that work? Or are you,
Well, actually, how it's going to be constructed is that the two that are there now, the faces are going to come out of them, and they'd be moved up to above that. The subway sign, there isn't one available that has the curved edges, and he just went through an inspection today by Subway, and I don't think he wants another issue with having a curved subway sign. You know, it kind of would look like a subway hanging up there if it had rounded edges, but I guess they don't like that idea. So the two bottom signs may go into just one box and just slide the panels in and out. And in fact, the sign that Subway has presented to me, and likewise to you people, is only 19 inches. It's not the full 24 that the other signs represent. So it's actually smaller. If you could, what height off the ground would you be happy with? Because, Nick, if this thing is going to stick up too high, I don't want it sticking up too high.
No, I understand.
so we can go down to 6.
The one thing that I'm not understanding on the specs, are they keeping the existing base and just adding?
Yes. Yeah, that was one of my concerns, and they say it's plenty strong enough to handle it. Prior to, I believe, these signs on there back prior to 91, we had a larger sign on that, so I don't think it's a problem.
Is the 88 inches that they're calling out on this plan, is that the current measurement now?
Oh, no, the current measurement now to the bottom is, remember what it was? You did a plan on it. It's 72. It's 72 inches right now. 72 plus 21, it's 83 inches. No, that would be with the new one.
Yeah,
That's the new one, 16 feet.
16 would work.
It's,
All of the,
sign, the subway sign that's there right now is right at the top of my head, so it's
I
72.
think this is the grade.
all of the current base and below-grade structure is remaining, and you're just adding above that.
Correct.
Through the chair, I guess my question is, what's the current height of the sign there now?
Yeah, it's,
And so to that, you're going to add 2 more signs of 2 feet each. So 15, 16 feet would work for you?
right.
Okay.
Just for Larry and Megan, the bylaw allows for height up to 12 feet, and then that's why they're coming in for the special permit. Yes, Bob?
I'll say through the chair, I actually drove there today to inspect the area, and if you see the small picture provided here from the existing sign with the SUV parked next to it, when I pulled my truck up next to that and stepped out of it, I was almost at the bottom of that sign. I could almost hit my head on it coming out. So I can see where the concern of actually lifting it up for an average-sized pickup truck might be beneficial to, then increase the other signs on top.
Nick, is that an actual parking space if they have the sign base in that spot right there?
No, if the sign's located in a parking space, it reduces the size of the parking space.
Okay.
It's not a
Yes, I
compensating
didn't think it was in a parking.
There is a barrier, a parking bunker or bumper, whatever, they back so people can't park there.
Okay.
Because what happened on 2 occasions, people just drove into it.
Yeah. I was saying that's the other thing too, if that is considered a parking space, as Mr. Fuller said.
Yeah.
You'd end up having people running over that sign.
Right.
Yeah, see the barrier?
Oh, that's right, okay. And then it's sort of grandfathered, because I think the bylaw is supposed to be 10 feet from the road, where I think we're about 5.5 feet
10 feet from a travel path.
from the travel path.
We can,
Pre-existing.
where we're, see, this is a difficult part of the bylaw. Since they're coming in and asking for additional signage, at that point, you almost have to look at it and say, we're looking at a new sign, because
Right.
you're increasing an existing non-conformity right now. Where this has been a sign application, we can, I believe that the board can amend the application to include the location of the sign as part of the special permit, so that it does encompass the current location. Obviously, they're not looking to change the base or do this. Looking at what's here, if what is represented on this drawing is what's down there, it is structurally sufficient to handle the additional signage. So I don't have any concerns that they would need to put in a new base. Again, as we said, though, that this is already an existing non-conforming location, so they'd be increasing an existing non-conforming.
Does anyone else have any other questions? I know, I think it was like 2 years ago, the number right up the street, the sandwich shop, I think remember we struggled on the sign, I think we...
Weeping Willie's,
Weeping
wasn't it?
Willie's, we came to agreement, I think 12 feet on that one. Remember, is that, I think, it was a
Yeah.
little different.
Well,
but
you know what, and it's up for discussion. I mean, I think the bylaw lacks a little bit on building that has multiple tenants.
Right.
Which kind of, you don't want to have small signs if he
Yeah.
has, crammed in. So, I mean, I think the face of the sign is what's needed for 4 tenants. 2 feet is not a large sign. So, and I think the height, if it goes to 16, given the fact that it is a multiple tenant building, keeps it up high where it needs to be, because one of my concerns with these being so close to the road is that you can actually see past it, so I think you can, just keeping it up high. So,
16 feet.
16, and given the face, because it is a multiple tenant building.
16 feet from what point?
Oh, from the site, from the grade level?
Yeah.
Straight up. So it'd be an extra 4 feet roughly?
I will say, if I could through the chair, that it's refreshing to see someone actually come in for a sign permit rather than just do it. And I really applaud Mr. Fuller for coming in and actually coming through with a permit and rather than just doing it, which,
Oh, well,
yeah.
he'll tell you that, and people here up at the town hall know him well, because I had him running up here for everything.
It's great.
I have a great passion for the town, and I have to credit the board for keeping it nice through the sign bylaws and other things that are being done. And if you lived here all your life and other people live here, keeping the signs proper is very, very important.
The other positive, the applicant didn't come in and say, I want 18. He's, like the auto dealerships where we had to pull them down to 18. It's a slower speed. I think the speed limit's probably about 30, 35.
And again, multiple tenants really kind of adds to the need to.
Does anyone,
Reducing that now.
any comment?
I have a question for the discussion. The 88-inch figure, it has been suggested maybe that is reduced to make the total height 16 feet?
I believe so.
Now, if that 88-inch figure was reduced to make the total height 16 feet, okay, we're at 74 inches in that span?
And then some of the
But
panels.
from ground level, a total of
One of the
98
panel-
inches.
Well, one of the panels is 19 inches, he said,
Yeah.
the subway.
Okay. So that those two panels, subway and the proposed tenant panel, would total 38 inches?
In the height? This way? No, I think it's going to be less than that. The subway sign is 19 inches.
Right.
The driving school sign, to equal that, if you make them equal, would be 38.
38 inches versus the 48?
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
The easiest way, if the 16 feet is, we'll just start at 16 feet and work down.
Right.
And it will give safety under the sign. The reason the 88, as I said before, was I went to the sign company, I said, I don't want to do something here that's not safe, and by his determination, 88 inches was a figure where it had to be for safety. And as Nick related to it, that's not necessarily true all the time, I guess.
Anyone else, any concerns or any
Well, I'll make a motion to approve it.
Unless we close the public comment first?
Did you ask if anyone's?
Anyone in the audience have any comments or here to speak on the sign?
No? Okay.
I'll take a motion to close, do we close the public hearing?
If you'd like to, you can close it now.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to close the public.
Motion to close?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll take a motion on the sign.
I'll make a motion to approve it 16 feet.
I'll second that.
Before you, I don't want to, before you close, we have a wall sign.
Oh, that's
on it. So motion to reopen the hearing to
I'll take a motion
take the wall sign.
We're gonna do the wall sign.
Oh, yeah. Motion to reopen
Second.
hearing for the wall sign.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So on the wall sign, so the applicant also provided us a detail showing the wall sign. 36.75 square feet.
I mean, my argument for it, in favor would be the same thing. It's a multiple tenant building,
Yeah.
which, each one needs some
They're all
signage.
in
So
line, they're all,
I don't have any problem with it.
Yeah, it's really,
It looks good. It's on
Yeah.
the fascia.
yeah. Does anyone, any comments on that, on the wall sign? No? So now we'll take another motion to close the public.
Okay, motion to close?
Second? All in favor? Aye. Now I'll take a motion on the, both on the height, so on the 16 feet height. What do you want to do?
Marcia, you want to do it again?
Yeah, I can do them both.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the sign at 16 feet and also the wall sign at the 36.75 square feet.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Wait, before we vote, just to make sure that also it's good location, the same
Same
location.
location.
Same,
Wall sign?
No, your freestanding sign, your pylon sign, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You forgot how to get here, did you? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now,
Time is late.
next one's at 7:15.
Yep, we're in.
Okay, we have a 7:15 applicant, Town of Auburn, requesting a special permit under section 4.3.5.1 of the Auburn zoning bylaws, the Aquifer District, rendering 15% or greater of the lot impervious on property located at 5 through 7 West Street, also AKA 780 Southbridge Street, Auburn. I'll take a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Matt Broussard from Broussard Design and Engineering. We're the site civil engineers for the project. I'm here with Eric Moore from Lammer Pagano, who is the project architect for the middle school proposal. So just to run through really quickly what the filing is related to, as you mentioned, rendering greater than 15% of the property within the Aquifer Protection District 2 impervious. This is the site. This is actually the site utility drawing that was included with the application package. West Street is at the top of the sheet. Southbridge Street would be running perpendicular off to that side there. This grayed out area is the proposed school. And just one thing that I wanted to talk about quickly that's listed in the application narrative that's been changed subsequent to the filing. We were initially requested to refrain from infiltrating runoff from traffic areas of the site by the water district. Subsequent to that, we made a notice of intent filing that reflected that same condition, and were subsequently instructed by Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection to modify that to treat and recharge all water from all the impervious surfaces. So the final design for the project is going to reflect that condition versus the one that was presented in the application. So that being said, there are going to be two infiltration systems for the project. The one that you see to your right in this area will receive runoff from the building roof area. All of the paved areas of the site, with the exception of small sections of the access drives in the front, will all be routed through treatment systems and then into a second infiltration field located here. So the project is subject to the DEP stormwater quality standards, so we'll be well in excess of the recharge requirements for those standards. The project is currently under peer review for the site design with Jeff Walsh at Graves Engineering. He has not issued his comment letter at this point. We're under review through Planning Board and Conservation. We expect to have those wrapped up in December. So with that being said, what we're hoping to come away with tonight is potentially a conditional approval based on a completed review letter for this specific item issued by Graves Engineering to the board via the Zoning Board of Appeals and Planning Board and Notice of Intent and Conservation. So I don't know if it, not being before the board before, I'm not sure if that's something that you're accustomed to doing or we would need to wait to close until that letter was issued. So I would leave that up to you, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, I'll start. Who gave you the guidance on where you first were going to not do the recharge area?
That came from the Water District, and the reason for that was because the town wells are located off this
Right.
plan, but this line right here is the 400-foot zone of influence offset for the Zone 1. The site also abuts Dark Brook Reservoir. So the reason for that request was because based on the information that they have, their analysis that they have for the well, that the well is primarily influenced by groundwater flow and is not influenced by, hydrologically influenced by Dark Brook Reservoir. So the thinking was, in the unlikely event of some kind of source of contamination in the paved parts of the site, although it's going to be routed through, fairly substantial treatment mechanisms before it gets to this field, the thinking was if there is a spill that does make it through the system, it'd be easier to deal with as part of a surface discharge into the reservoir versus a groundwater discharge into the sand aquifer. So that was the reasoning behind that. But as I said, it was superseded by DEP.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, because regardless of DEP, it's in our bylaw that you would have had to have that anyway, unless you came for a variance for that.
Okay.
So I'm glad to see that it's in there, because that was going to be my question tonight, is that it had to be there,
So
as per our
that's-
bylaw.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that, but we weren't aware of that. We thought it was
Yeah,
just
under 4.3.6.2.
that all areas require recharge? Okay. Well, then.
No, it's great that it's in there, so
That will be the
a
condition.
variance won't be needed then.
But the rest of the infrastructure really isn't changing. The only thing that's changing is this originally was a closed pipe detention system. Now it's going to be an open infiltration field. Same location, basically roughly the same size.
Any other board members have any questions?
Chair, I guess, I mean, typically, since the recharge area really falls under the privy of this board and the aquifer, typically, I mean, we ask for the, the peer review and calculations, so, we get the comments back.
Right.
Lately, it's been,
Well, it was
we
our-
always share the data, but, since you went to the planning board first, I guess.
Well, I guess the idea was that Mr. Walsh from Grays is going to be issuing a combined review letter that addresses individually the Conservation Commission issues, the Planning Board issues, and the Zoning Board of Appeals issues in one document. That'll be circulated through all boards. That was, I believe, Adam Burney instructed that was, how they were going to handle it.
My only question is, do we wait for those calculations to come through before there's any revisions?
Just my opinion, we're surrounded by the flood zone. I think we have concerns with the, I think I'd prefer to wait to see the.
When were those supposed to be ready?
I think they were continued on conservation until December 11th, I believe it was. So then we're after that.
And we're expecting an initial comment letter from Graves at any time. We just haven't received it yet.
Yeah, I mean, typically there's a back and forth, they have the comments, you answer the comments. Yeah.
Well, that's what we're the goal for us is to try and get that accomplished within a couple of rounds of individual, exchanges prior to their next upcoming meetings for planning and conservation are the second week of December. So that's what we're trying to clear is our date. When is the next?
When's the next meeting?
When's the next?
We scheduled for December 19th.
December 19th.
Yep.
Okay. So that'll actually still work, right, Eric? Okay. Well, our overarching goal is to try to get everything wrapped up, basically by January. The site work for the project is going out as an early bid release package. So that's kind of our looming deadline.
Now, in the peer review, will they evaluate the potential flooding on the site where the the infiltration field is? Will they evaluate that? Do you know?
Well, these areas up here are well above the floodplain.
Well, I mean, when I looked, it was, on your map, it says elevation of the school is 634.
Correct.
But I know when I check risk meter, the edge of the flood zone all around it is 600, it was like 6.3 feet below that. So I don't know if you, on the construction, do they normally,
Well, the flood zone in this area does not have a base flood elevation assigned to it. It's graphically delineated, and there's materials that have been actually listed with a notice of intent filing regarding that issue. I can get into that in detail if you'd like now, or all the material was included with the notice of intent filing. We weren't aware that it was something that this board would be interested in.
Typically, this board looks at the aquifer conditions.
Right.
Because I don't know, we usually see a plan that has, shows the oil and water separators, locations of everything, basically.
Well, what I can tell you is all that material is being reviewed as part of the same package. We weren't under the impression that this board would want all of that information. We can certainly supply it if you would like to review it. It's all been included in the overall package. It's gone through planning and conservation. It was our assumption that the main focus of this review would be related to the infiltration systems themselves, and not necessarily to the rest of the hydraulic design of the site. But if that's not the case, we'd be happy to provide you guys with whatever you'd like to.
okay, so what does the board think? Do you want to have them continue it to the next meeting so we can see the results of the peer review?
I think we should.
Yeah.
Well, I think, considering that we're all meeting with the first few weeks of December, and allow it to go through its natural process before it reaches us,
Right.
in respect to the other boards as well, and then we've always maintained the fact that we needed to have the proper calculations of the peer review before we make a decision. I think we should maintain that integrity,
Yeah.
and since they're gonna meet in the first and second week of December, we can be in the third week.
Right.
If everything's in line, it should be a pretty smooth process. Accomplish it as their goal the first of the year.
I think proposed construction is at March, I believe, sometime in the spring.
Correct.
Is it? Okay.
So am I understanding that the board is comfortable with allowing the materials that are already under review to remain in that process? Or would you like us to submit materials to this board so the board members themselves can have access to it? Either way is fine. We were just honestly, we were dropping off so many boxes full of paper and documents and et cetera. We're just trying to minimize what we were submitting, so.
Nick, is that something we can?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if the board wishes, we can definitely get you a copy of the full package. If you would like, once we get the response letter back from Graves, I can definitely distribute that out to the board. You might want to read that first before you ask for a full submission package of this.
Yeah.
That way you can see if there's any concerns that Graves has. If Graves has some concerns that you see in that letter, then you might want to move forward and start actually looking at the plans. But before we go through and start getting out big packages for you guys to review, let's take a look and see what Graves comes
Right.
back with. Again, if they have any major concerns, then we can take a look at the other stuff. If they seem to be okay with it, then the board can make that decision if they want to have more detailed copies of the information.
Great. Okay, so I'll take a motion to continue.
I'll make a motion to continue to
December
19th.
19th at
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Nick, do we need the applicant to sign a continuance form? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where the applicant?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. That's right. Town of Auburn. Thank you.
We need a motion to close the hearing.
No, it's continued.
Continuing.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You have to have it.
Yeah, we always have it, yes. Okay, so now, I don't know if everyone had a chance to read the minutes from October 23rd, and then, if so, I'll take a motion to approve the
A
minutes.
motion to approve.
For a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And it looks like we just need Rick to sign the...
Give him the message.
Okay. That's all we have.
Oh, no, it's continue.
I'll take a motion to close the meeting.
Close the meeting?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
record time. It's good.
I just went down Staples, it was like $3. It's so much easier to maintain.
Yes.
My daughter's plastic spoon, obviously.
What is it?
My daughter's plastic spoon.
What's your daughter?
7. Even if it looks like something.
We always share. We were the ones who actually checked.
So, do you have to write everything down and transcribe it?
Makes sense, getting two, we just order one.
You, like, try to read again, or no? I mean, I see you furiously writing, so you just,
I know what this
Make sure
is.
that everything is
I drive to,
yeah,
I sit there,
that's awesome.
I sit there,